Hello, BookTube, and welcome to another episode of Last Week in BookTube. So, those of you who might be new to the channel, this is a regular thing where I look back on the previous week in BookTube and point out some highlights, some stuff that I really liked, wanted to make sure that you didn't miss. It's not meant to be comprehensive at all. It certainly doesn't cover all of BookTube, much less all of YouTube that I watch in one week. Uh, but some points, things that I really liked or thought were interesting that I wanted to make sure you at least heard about. And before we get started, I should apologize not only for the Lon Chaney lighting, uh, but also for the ceaseless noise in the background. There's a problematic gas main directly outside my house. So in addition to the noise of construction from across the street, which has stopped for now because of the weird hour that I'm filming this. There's also what I guess is going to be round the clock jackhammering and backhoeing and hammering and pounding uh, directly outside my house, directly at the end of the driveway. Uh, this is not the first time that the power company has come to that exact same 3 foot by 3 foot spot and simply hammered away at it. It leads me to wonder why they don't just take whatever's wrong and fix it, as opposed to coming back over and over again. But I'm hoping that even so, you can hear me. And I thought we'd get right into it. As usual, I want to start off with some general things. The one of which is great, is fun, and that's video every day in April, which is trucking on. It's got 1 week to go, and it's just wonderful to watch the people. Everybody's involved in it. That's a lot of fun. Another big BookTube and YouTube thing, general thing from last week that wasn't so good, was the return of the issue of restricted mode on YouTube, which was bungled by YouTube not once, not twice, but 3 times, and now they have it has returned to attention. Still not anything like what it should be. It's still YouTube is claiming it's an algorithm that went rogue and started categorizing a whole bunch of stuff as sensitive that it wasn't. A whole bunch of stuff, especially gay content, that was deemed necessary to be in restricted mode simply because it was gay content, even if it wasn't in any way. It perfectly innocuous, in fact, inspiring and instructional coming out videos, support videos that were all of a sudden flagged for what looks certainly like simple discriminatory reasons. And BookTube issued an apology, a non-apology apology, and then they issued a slightly less non-apology apology and said that they were correcting the algorithm. I don't know. YouTube commentators in general seem to be going along with that story. I don't believe it for a minute. I don't believe it for a minute. Algorithms aren't prejudice. People are prejudice. The thing that I saw in the very first iteration of this restricted mode debacle was the work of humans who hate gay people. It wasn't the work of a machine, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe algorithms are a lot more sophisticated than I know. But one way or another, they're still tinkering with it. They made a big to-do last week of saying that thousands and thousands of videos that had been improperly restricted are now off restricted mode. Needless to say, without drawing any attention to the fact that thousands and thousands of videos is a drop in the proverbial bucket if you're uploading 400 hours of video every minute. So we'll see how it all plays out. I think it's easy to see how it will all play out, and it's not good. It's part and parcel of the future that we are moving into, in which the social advances that spanned from roughly the mid 1980s to the early 2000s, that roughly 25-year period, we're going to look back on it in our own lifetimes and say, God Almighty, that was incredible. Who knew that we could ever achieve so much? Because I think they're all going to go away, and that's no pleasure for me to predict, and maybe I'll be wrong. But restricted mode seems to me to be a canary in the coal mine in terms of that. The way it played out still seems to me to be a little too human and not all that algorithmic, but we shall see. In the meantime, there are plenty of happier things to talk about. Although one thing that cropped up over and over again last week in BookTube annoyed the pee out of me, and that was the number of March wrap-up videos that I saw. In the third week of April, people, you are no longer doing March wrap-up videos. You're doing failure videos. So I mean, I understand if you're running behind, but if it's the third week of April, let the March wrap-ups go. But there were also two examples that I saw, and that probably there were others, but there were two examples I saw of very interesting brand expansions, if you want to put it that way. Pages and Pens started a sort of communal channel called Book Buzz, and Cam at WolfShot Publishing started his own podcast. And I'll leave links to these things, and I hope I remember to leave links to everything down below. But both of them pushing the envelope of what BookTube has been in very interesting ways, very promising ways. And then I wanted to mention some book reviews. They tend to be low viewer counts in the short term for channels, although they rack up views over time in a way that no other video does. But I love them because I'm a book reviewer, and I don't review books on my channel. I think I've said enough on that subject. But I wanted to point out some that were really good, draw them to your attention. Like, for instance, we'll start off with the vitriol. Jennifer, insert literary pun here, is force marching her way through the books on the Bailey's Prize shortlist. And she can't say I didn't warn her. On the Bailey's Prize shortlist for fiction, there's one passable novel, and all the others stink. So if you are, just as a point of honor, forcing yourself to read them all, you are forcing yourself to read a string of novels that are awful. And I guess she just wanted to see that for herself. I don't know. So she read C.F. Morgan's The Sport of Kings, and she did a review of it that you have to see to believe. So I'll leave the link down below. Needless to say, although I probably would gall her, we're not in any kind of disagreement about the book. 7 Days at Sea, Conrad, one of our best book reviewers, did a special treat last week. Back-to-back book reviews. He did The Lonely Hearts Hotel by Heather O'Neill, and he did Marlena by Julie Bunton. Separate videos for each. Well worth your time to watch. Let's see here. April Sarah reviewed A Wounded Name by Dot Hutchinson. She did a really good job. And Beyond the Pages, a channel I don't praise highly enough, also did back-to-back reviews of The Old Curiosity Shop and Sylvia's Lovers. She unabashedly loves the classics and just talks about nothing else, and that's just wonderful. So those are reviews that I can praise. And then we'll move on to, we'll wrap up with a few miscellaneous things I wanted to point out to you. Like Mercy's Bookish Musings did a wonderful discussion video on how you choose your next book. How you choose the next thing you're going to read. Kind of video that immediately gets you thinking and answering the question yourself. I immediately wanted to make a video like that myself, detailing all of the factors that are involved. That kind of juicy, nerdy stuff just gets me going. I love it. Simon Savidge did an Easter weekend reading vlog that is oddly mesmerizing. Because Easter weekend, was a long weekend for a lot of people, and it was a reminder to me that a lot of you, most of you, have huge demands on your time. So a long holiday weekend represents a precious oasis of time where you can just luxuriate in reading. And my whole life is that. So I need that reminder now and again that that's not true. And it wasn't true for me for a long time. So I recommend watching the video. You should subscribe to his channel anyway. Needless to say, those of you who might be new to the channel or who might not know about these people, these are in addition to these videos, these are all strong recommendations to subscribe for the best of BookTube content. Let's see here. Oh, along the lines of Mercy's Bookish Musings, where she talks about what book are you going to read next. There's a newer BookTube channel. She deserves 1,000 subscribers. She doesn't have them, but she deserves them. The channel is called June Arrived Last Night. And despite how much I love her channel, the last time I mentioned it, I used the wrong name. I think I said Just Arrived last night. But it's actually called June Arrived Last Night. And she did a video on whether or not you should finish a book. That, again, very simple questions, but an endless supply, as many answers as there are readers. So guaranteed to be thought-provoking for you. And Britt did a video inspired by a quick Twitter exchange on George R.R. Martin and the long pause for his next book. And I thought her video was charming because she's a big fan. We're all big fans on BookTube, I think. And like most big fans of George R.R. Martin, she is in denial about the obvious fact that he will die without finishing the series. That I don't know quite why George R.R. Martin fans have such a hard time with that, especially when they have the example of Robert Jordan right in front of them. Virtually identical example. But nevertheless, hope springs eternal. I believe that in 2017 so far, George has written 10 words, which is really good. That's almost a whole line on a page. That's no, it's a fun discussion. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. And this is the thing I've mentioned before on this channel. Alex at A View from the Bar, it has continued. He did an odd narrated animation short story. I don't even know what you call it. He did one a couple of weeks ago, and it was brilliant. And he's done another one about a woman who wakes up and has a face on her hand and what happens as a result. And it's spellbinding. Just spellbinding. It's a distinct honor, a treat to leave a link for it. So you should go and just enjoy the fun. But if we're going to have a BookTube winner, I don't mean that in an invidious way. This is not a competition, of course, but there's another concept video, another questioning video that came out. Steakachino did one on what happened to the baby booktubers. She was going through her subscription and noticed that a lot of the people that she recently come back to BookTube and wanted to do maybe a shout-out video to a whole bunch of people who don't have many subscribers. And she was looking through her subscriber list and was noticing that a lot of the people that she might have shouted out aren't making videos anymore. It seemed to have dropped off the map. And she asked, in her way, of course, she's not content just with the surface of things. She dug down underneath and asked the pertinent question, which is there something about BookTube that is inhospitable to newbies that causes them to just stop making videos? And that part was absolutely fascinating. And again, another thing where you want to discuss it, because I've done that myself. I've gone through my subscription feed and I look at name after name after name that aren't making videos anymore. Now, I some of them aren't small either. I myself think that it's not that BookTube is inhospitable. I'd have among booktubers, I would have some cause to say that it is, but I don't believe that. I think it's actually very welcoming. And I've noticed, I mean, Ben Sanders is our concierge. He's out there finding new booktubers. And not only that, but I've noticed that it happens in addition to him, where a new channel pops up and all of a sudden their comments field is full of people saying, welcome, I subscribed. Hope you enjoy it. Keep making videos. No, I think it's fairly encouraging. I just think it's when people stop, it tends to be for a whole mixture of reasons. Maybe they hit a period in their life where they suddenly don't have the time. There's another thing I need to be reminded of, in addition to the fact that the rest of you don't read all day long, is that the rest of you also edit your videos. So it's not just this, what I'm doing right now, that you have to allow time for. You then have to take this and spend sometimes an enormous amount of time editing the video and into a finished product. I don't think that's all that necessary, especially when some booktubers take it way too far. No names, mind you, but I saw a video just the other day. I won't say who it was or whether it was, I don't know, a dude bro booktuber, but it was 5 minutes and 15 seconds long, and I lost count at around 700 jump cuts, which means that you're in your editing program just going like that, just like the rat at the drugged water. You're not actually paying attention to what you're doing. One of the jump cuts was in the word but. But is one syllable, and yet there was a cut in the middle of it. The beginning, the boo part, was different from the part. The dog in the background had moved. That's insane. All you're doing is talking to the camera. That's insane. But nevertheless, lots of booktubers do that, and that probably eats up their time. And all of a sudden, it looks disposable. It looks like it's the thing you're going to cut. I think that might be the reason for some of it, but I'd love to hear more discussion of it. I'd love to hear how we can keep people doing this, because the more voices we have, the better, right? So I look at these BookTube newbie tags that Ben Sanders goes through, and he watches with such care, or used to. He himself is trembling on the brink of not being with us anymore. Alarming. But I look at some of those first time videos and I think, oh my God, okay, this is great. Are you going to be around in 5 videos? I want you to be. Is there anything I can do to help? So the video, Steakocino's video, is very good in that regard. But the thing that gets the winner prize ribbon was. At one point in her video, she wondered whether or not there's been mass extinction event among booktubers. Where the scientist comes peeking out. And when you go to see the video, I feel certain that when you get to that moment, you will have the same urge that I did when I saw it, which was to say out loud, nerd! But anyway, that was last week in BookTube. Except for one thing, some of you have said that you like a little extracurricular suggestion where I do something that isn't technically BookTube, but that I did see and that I do recommend. And this time it's even book related. It's very close. I think it's something I've mentioned on this channel before and recommended. There are many college lecture series on YouTube that are filmed and that are free. They're just posted regularly, and they range all over the spectrum in terms of not just subject matter, but how entertaining the speaker is. And one of my favorites of those series is Gresham College, and they did one recently on the poetry of Robert Frost that was quite good. So that would be my non-BookTube recommendation. And there you go. That's last week in BookTube. I'd love to hear what you saw, if there's anything great that I missed. And I'll wrap it up for now, and I'll get back to books. I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.